Following on from my earlier video regarding the dog sausage, I thought it'd be a good time to support that with further stories from my book, as seen here. I tried to advertise it on Amazon. It's for sale on Amazon. I've tried to advertise it, but they believe that this unfortunate bottle that fell between the two tea bags mean that that is a profanity. So I was unable to take that forward with them. But what I thought I would do is maybe read a story from it, which might be quite interesting. Who knows? Does anyone care? No. But it's aptly named Charity Shop Nostalgia. So I just thought I'd read a few pages from it. Why not? So it's Saturday morning. You've been invited to an 80s themed fancy dress party. You consider your play. Shall I dress myself up like a Sinclair Spectrum? Again, cardboard box from a convenience store across the road, bit of black paint and some coloured insulation tape. No, you've done that to death. Maverick from Top Gun? No, too common. Crockett from Miami Vice? Way too easy. After a cheeky sausage and bacon sandwich, the inspiration lands. 80s equals rock music. You assess a list of possible targets. You think hard. And then it lands. It has to be Slash from Guns N' Roses. Personal hero. Ideas start racing. Where do you go to get such a garb like that in such a short amount of time? Therefore, the foraging began. I had to source a wig. This was a key component to obtain a classic rock hairstyle. I grabbed my keys. I made my way to the local town market. At last, the undercover market entrance appears. So it wasn't one of these outdoor markets, it was undercover. But I noticed there was puddles of dirty water on the floor, a faint smell of urine where someone had wazzed up against the shutter door the night before when it was closed. To the left of the entrance, there is a telltale splash mark of acidic chunder, a dark, foreboding splash mingled with canned fruit cocktail. The time had come. I crossed the metal drainage strip threshold and began to search for some high-quality nylon wigs. My foot came down on the smooth white concrete floor. My other foot followed immediately and stepped on a flattened banana that had been dropped by one of the traders. My foot came down again and I wondered what else I had actually stepped in. It wasn't a problem. It was only a butt from Embassy No. 1 and some discarded Wrigley's Juicy Fruit. When a mission is this important, a few knocks along the way matter little. My search continued and my senses continued to adjust to the constant fishy odour coming from the fish stall. The scent reminds me of something. Maybe it's a flashback to last Saturday night when an unfortunate coitus not of your making occurred. Obviously that's historic. I blinked, cleared my vision. I walked past the guy selling the customary Addy Hash t-shirt and a spliffy record bag, if people remember those. There was a strong odour of Jamaican woodbine, which I noted. I passed by a rave stall and they were peddling Helter Skelter and The Sanctuary. Who remember those? The assault on my senses continued, and I noted a guy selling battle axes, BB guns, and also adjacent to him was a slightly strange individual selling dream catchers and wolf t-shirts. They also had a strange infatuation of posters with red-eyed creatures on. Eventually, I arrived at the fancy dress stall. The burly lady behind the raised table asked me what rug I'd like to insert my head into. Cheeky. I assessed my options and I agreed that I did not want the long silvery wig that looked like it was made from a substandard tinsel. I didn't need the fake monk wig with the rubber forehead and printed on hair. And then I saw it. A photo of a packet showing a smug-looking fella holding up a blow-up guitar. £7, job done. Long black wig. But ultimately, when you wore it, you could never, ever go near a paraffin lamp or a candle. Other rules of thumb was that you don't go to a firework display in it, and you also take it off before you light any cigarette. First piece of my puzzle was found and I moved on. I went for a next mission to accomplish was the waistcoat, vest, spray-on jeans and some boots. Wig obtained, I walked away from the market marvel and then focused on some really serious stuff. Where was I going to get a smorgasbord of 80s rock clothing? There was only one place, the charity shop. Words cannot describe or convey the plethora of treasures held within the four walls of the charity shop. First thing that hits you when you walk into its warmth was that it was so hot. It's so hot in charity shops. But I did walk, as soon as I walked in on that worn wicker mat, the heat just hit me. It was like a wave from Butterfly House. I felt really nauseous. I had to grab the nearest mannequin to steady my wobbly legs. I gulped deep breaths and finally I was steadied and I continued on. I took in the aroma, the dusty smell that rivals the smell of a primary school. I looked around and couldn't believe what was on offer. There was the customary knackered classical guitar on the wall. There was a lime green tie available with some dark splashes on the front. And also, I observed a new suit on a nearby mannequin. The fabric on the front is incredible. It's mint. But also, alas, the white lining on the inside appeared slightly off-white as though a cup of tea had been spilt on the inside pocket. But for £12, who cares? Who cared about the yellow drops on the crotch lining? This was a top-of-the-line suit. And then I moved on. I walked around the shop and then, lo and behold, I saw a 1978 Blue Peter annual with a ripped cover. That went in the basket. And who in their right mind can turn down the obligatory Cat Stevens album glinting at you from the mottled brown shelf? Outside, the rain had started. Not a problem. I helped myself to a slightly mangled Abbey National umbrella that was on sale. I twinned the umbrella with a naff puffer jacket, and there was no rain bothering me today. But back to the job in hand. I attacked the denim section. I spotted some well-worn Wrangler jeans that fit the bill for the skinny rock jeans look. I looked to my left and spied a white Alf t-shirt. Boom, trousers and a t-shirt, solved. Oddly enough, my young daughter's drawn a phallus on one of the pages, which is probably quite fitting. Finally, the coup de grace, the denim jacket. Out of the blue forest, you spot a Gap denim jacket that's so faded it makes Casper the Ghost look like he had a tan. This is the one. I took it off the hanger. The hanger said it was my size. The label said it was another. Who cares? I'd be cutting the arms off it later anyway. So I slip it on with the grace of a chicken who is flapping its wings and battle furiously to get it over my shoulders. With a constricted breath and the free movement of Robocop, I was inside the jacket. There was a musty smell on the material. Discoloration on the neck, check. I put my hands in the pockets. Yep, jackpot. It was full of grit and crumbs. The musty smell, as expected, is akin to broken biscuits. I turned out the pockets. Further crumbs spilt out onto the carpeted floor. Now the boots. I was checking out the bursting shoe section. Noted white trainers with sport on the side. More Moody Clobber as you take in the green wellies with frog eyes on. Brown sandals. Frere Rocher, you were spoiling us. Classic. Bad news, no black boots. The only ones on offer smell like they've been in the trenches. No joy there. I furiously searched the racks of shoes, hoping that something would pop out, and finally it did. At last, end of the light of the tunnel. Not quite boots, but behold, a faded pair of Fila suede high tops. I was saved. I took one last look at the black carpet lining that had worked its way through the brown carpet. In a final parting shot before exit, I grabbed the 80s Power Ballads cassette and I headed for the till to relieve myself of my hard-earned pence. 75% of the outfit was complete. Finally, all I needed was a top hat. I scoured the high street. I'd filled my retail scrotum with goodies. I got home, cracked a Stella, put some music on. The taxi was due in an hour. Let's get dressed. I backcombed the wig. I yanked the jeans up. I ignored the yellow patches under the arms of the Alf t-shirt. And then I popped a Running Man while I struggled with the armless Gap jacket. And at last it was over my shoulders. Head stretched back completely arched. I strapped on the feelers. I looked in the mirror and horror strikes. I had forgotten the top hat. What was I going to do? The top hat was essential to pulling off my required outfit. I rummaged through my mum and dad's wardrobe. Nothing. Head in hands, I sat on the bed and my eyes wandered to the top of the wardrobe. Maybe, just maybe, a solution had been found. I jumped onto the bed. I ventured on top of the wardrobe, inhaled some dust, sneezed wildly, and pulled down Excalibur, the Guinness St. Patrick's Day foam hat. It looked ridiculous. It is too unruly, who cares? Desperate times called for desperate measures. I bolted down the stairs, took off the excess length with scissors, wrapped the girth of the hat with black gaffer tape. I noted the hat was a bit heavier now. This was a blessing in disguise. Effortlessly, the hat counterweighed the strain on the back from the tight jacket. By the time the cab arrived, I was almost upright. I ducked my head down to enter the back of the Saloon Maestro. Catching the hat on the way down, and I was on my way. I strolled into the party, peacocking all the way. I mean, how much better could I have looked in an accurate slash get-up than I was wearing? I looked around, bold as brass, overheard a conversation nearby. Two fellas are talking, each looking in my direction as I walked in. They turned to each other and said, "Fuck me, Gary. Look at this geezer. He's only come at Mr. Big." Well, that being said, maybe my outfit wasn't quite as good as I thought it would. But I thought, well, in the words of a well-known 80s legend, or legendary song, I should say. Mother, it's a perfect crime. I said, Mother, it's a perfect crime. I said, it's perfect.